Welcome to another episode of the State of African Agriculture. Today we have Ayodeji Balogun. He's the CEO of AFEX, Commodity Exchange in Nigeria. AFEX is an agricultural, finance, and technology-based exchange company. They provide solutions to challenges faced by Nigerian smallholder farmers, such as aggregation, storage, financial inclusion, as well as providing a readily available market for both farmers and buyers. We'll be discussing commodity trading and unlocking finance. Join me. Hi, thanks for joining me today. How are you?
Very good. Great day
How is
to be alive.
Abuja?
Abuja is good, quiet.
So let's get into it. AFEX is the first Nigerian private sector company, commodity exchange company. And you currently have a trading platform called ComX, which currently has over 13,000 users on the app. I actually have the app, so I downloaded it.
Awesome.
First, I want you to explain what commodity trading is and how to access the app, what it does. Can you just explain what the platform does?
Thank you very much. ComX is essentially just allows you to be able to buy a bag of grain and hold on to it. So you own a bag of grain when you invest on ComX. Then as prices changes of the bag of grain, then the value of what you own also changes. So then when it's time to sell, you're always able to sell it. So if you buy it when prices are low and then you sell it when prices are high, then you make a margin and you can withdraw it. And all of this you can do from a phone. So on the other side, we then do taking the grain, put it in a warehouse for you, doing all the insurance covers, ensuring it's under the warehouse receipt system, which is regulated. And we do all those hard work. Then when it's time to sell, we also have buyers who are processing companies that need to use the grain that are buying as well. So that's where you then sell to.
So typically, do I buy, if I was going to buy a grain of, maybe if I was going to buy maize, do I buy at the beginning of the planting season or after harvest?
So ideally, you want to come into the market and buy between October and December, maybe January. So that's around when harvest happens. And almost all the time, that's when the prices are lowest. Now, around now, May, June, July, August is around when you want to sell. And typically between when you harvest time and time to sell, you typically would have about 30% price increase. So this year, for instance, maize started at 14,500 on Comex, which is essentially the price of a bag of maize around harvest in December. And then today it's about 19,500. So you've seen 40% increase in about 5 to 6 months. So if you had invested in December for ₦1 million, you would have 1.4 million naira.
Oh, interesting. So I noticed when I downloaded the app, I had some free credit or free money? What is that about? Before adding money.
So there are two accounts. There are two accounts on ComX. Is a demo account because we know that a lot of users aren't conversant with trading. So we're very familiar with trading, buying stock and holding stock shares. But it's the same thing, only that instead of you buying shares of a company, you're buying a bag of grains. And then as the prices go up and down, that's when you then earn from commodities. So it's the same principle. So what we've done is to create a demo account that has some value that allows you to start to trade and demonstrate how to trade. To buy, you see how to sell, you see how to watch the graph, see the price trend, see who else on the market. But all those are demo traded. Then when you switch to the live accounts, that's when you then have to fund your wallets to be able to trade.
Okay, so yeah, I think when I switched to the live accounts, I did see the wallet thing. So actually, you have to put money and actually trade. So thank you for that. And how do people access it? How do you download the app?
So we have it on both on Android and iOS, and then we have the web. So on Android, you search ComX. ComX is spelled COMX. And then same thing on the App Store and the Play Store. Then on the web, it is comx.afexnigeria, one word.com.
Okay.
Then you then download or sign in on the web, and then you can trade. So all three platforms are available.
Oh, thank you. So apart from ComX, AFEX is also big on unlocking financing for smallholder farmers. And one of the biggest challenges you and I both know is finance in the agricultural sector, especially specifically for smallholder farmers. You have a specific program called Input Financing Program to help unlock financing for production activities for smallholder farmers. And your target this year is to reach 150,000 farmers. How can farmers work with you? How can they access the finance? How can they be part of this program?
So the first thing we do in our input financing product is to work with farmers and clusters. So we rely on cooperative structures and areas where crops that have endemic advantage, competitive advantage. So if you are a maize farmer in Kaduna, or you are a rice farmer in Kebbi, or you are a cocoa farmer in Ondo, those are the kind of, or you are a sesame farmer in Nasarawa or in Jigawa, they will have a very high likelihood of working with you. And same for other states. So it's the states and the crop that state grows the most. Then the farmers have to be in a cluster. So you have to be part of a cooperative. Sometimes we do help with the team group formation and registration of the cooperative, but the farmers need to be in a group. Then we then start the process of engagement. We have a robust technology platform that we use. We have field extension officers that are directly connected with the farmer groups. Okay. They register farmers on the platform, and then through that, where they are financially excluded, don't have bank accounts, we support with opening bank accounts because we always transact digitally. So it's important that all farmers that we work with do have a bank account so that there is a means of settlement. And then we then do the training, do the registration, and then they get primed for receiving the loan. And the loan comes in products. So you could take, we typically would have 3 bundles. One bundle will be the premium bundle, which will be the fertilizer needed, the crop production products needed, and then the seeds. Then we have the plus bundle, which is the fertilizer and the crop production products alone. And then we have the basic bundle, which is pretty much just fertilizer. So depending on the preference of the farmer and its credit rating based on its performance over time, we then assign loans to them.
So to AFEX, what value chain do you operate in? And are these the same value chains on ComX?
Yes. So today we operate in 8 value chains, 7 of which are on ComX for trading. We do maize, we do soya beans, we do sorghum, we do paddy rice. Those are the 4 staple crops that we do. Then on the export crops, we have cocoa, we have cashew, and we have sesame. Cocoa and cashew are also listed on ComX. Sesame and dried ginger are not on ComX, but we also do those too. So those are the 8 value chains that we play in today.
Interesting. So congratulations, you just raised $50 million under the ABC program to finance top 5 players in the livestock and food beverage subsector. Number one, yeah, I want you to tell me about the program, but just why just 5 players and how can someone get a piece of this pie?
So again, this is what we're trying to do, and is to think through how you can increase financing. So if you look at the total bank credits to the agricultural sector, it's only 2% of the size of the sector, and that is extremely small to drive the growth that we need and to drive productivity for a sector as large and important as agriculture for Nigeria. So we've seen the opportunity. We've suffered the pain, being a player in the space and having lack of funding, and so we understand how it is that you have great ambitions, you have great opportunities, but you do lack the working capital to be able to close on them. We then helped us to then start to think around how we could leverage our strength as a commodities exchange, as a capital market players with members that are fund managers, asset managers, and then take agricultural transactions and package it in a way that they like to see. So an average fund manager or an asset manager doesn't want to been a discussion that you're talking about lending to farmers. But then if you take 1,000 farmers, similar profile, similar location, with an insurance wrap, with a credit risk wrap, you put it and call it an input note for 100 million, they'll subscribe to it because it looks like what. But if you call it 1,000 farmers, in Kaduna, they probably wouldn't be interested. But essentially, they are the same thing. So that process of securitization is a capacity that we have, and because we do have a very strong infrastructure to support the ground operations, we actually can do a lot more of this. We're also regulated, meaning that we can play and speak the language that they like to hear. So the same like is what we did for the commercial paper. So we took 5 food and livestock players, poultry players that are the market challengers, and brought them together, analyzed their credits, and then see how we could bring them together into a commercial paper issue, meaning that we're going to the capital markets to raise money, and that money would go to buy raw material companies. Now, that raw material that we're buying would then be stored, and then would have a warehouse receipt issued by us, and that warehouse receipt is then an additional security to them. So essentially, instead of just the money being lent to these 5 players, and then you take a building or something for collateral, the grain that you're financing is held by us in trust, and that becomes the collateral of the transaction. So it is a win-win. So the lender gets to get a secure product at a good financing that is above what it could get for a similar risk profile product. The borrower gets to get enough cash to be able to then buy commodities when prices are good, and then it locks up, and then is assured for his production cost for the year, but also product availability and the quality that he buys. So because it's buying early into the season and it's kept in secure storage, its quality is also a lot better. And then we get to connect buyers with sellers, which is what we love to do, and connect them with markets, both financial and commodities markets. So it's a 3-way win for everybody.
It's actually, it's brilliant. I never thought about it, alternative finance, but it actually makes sense and it wraps up. So good job with that. That's actually interesting to know.
Thank you.
And obviously they're available to just people like partners that you work with, right?
Yes. And we're expanding it. So we're preparing for the new year, and we will be doing both on the export market because there's huge potential. And beyond that, Nigeria needs to expand its foreign exchange earnings. So we need to syndicate and increase lending to the export sector. Then we'll also be doing it just for the poultry sector now, but for the rice mills will be able to get transactions under the asset-backed commercial paper type structure. Looking at the food and beverage in addition. We have a growing snacks sector. So from peanuts to cashew nuts to dried, those sectors that are also all agri-raw materials. We will be looking at how we can work with them to expand the pie that we will be supporting with access to finance this year.
Impressive. Actually, I wish you guys luck with that. I want to talk about the impacts of smallholder farmers and just based on your experience, AFEX activities in the sector, in the agribusiness sector, has contributed to different SDG goals, such as no poverty, zero hunger, sustainable production and consumption, and more. From AFEX experience over the last couple of years, what is the potential of the value chain activities you operate in to deliver positive impact to smallholder farmers, processors, SMEs? Well, I know you talked more about smallholder farmers and financial inclusion, but I want to talk more about in terms of processors and if there are any opportunities for SMEs in the sector.
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. When you look at it from a point that the farmers that produce the food that we eat are the poorest and the most financially excluded, it tells you that the system is unfair to them. When you are the child of a farmer, you're almost destined to poverty because you lack a support system that can educate you, that can give you a fair opportunity at life. And it's a multi-generational chain of poverty. when you are the first person to then first get financially included, have a bank account in 3-4 generations. In the South, in Lagos, we do take having a bank and complain about services. But in the North, it's an asset. It's like an infrastructure. So a whole community will rely on 3 people that have a bank account. And every transaction to do, those people are the ones that then start to do. So financial inclusion is an important part, but this just gets them becoming an economic actor. It's the beginning to a whole lot of avenue where you then can start to impact. In our 5 years of working, what we've seen is that there's a very strong correlation around the number of years that a farmer has worked with AFEX, and then their reduced poverty rate, but even more importantly, their increased rate of food security. So as compared with the baseline, where about 30 or 40% of baseline farmers are food insecure, farmers that have worked with us for about 3 years and above have 0. None of them have been food secure. And farmers that have worked with us for a year gets down to about only 10% of them have food insecurity issues, 10 to 15%. So this is phenomenal. When we look at the poverty curve as well, what we've seen is a pattern where after the first year, the farmer's income increases by 100% because its yield from 1.8 to 2, about from 18 bags to 20 bags per hectare, goes up to about 40 to 45 bags. So that's a 100% increase in their revenue. By the second or the third year, depending on how fast and how much they evolve, you then start to see that they start to get a second. So they expand their land size by 2-fold. Then they use their capital to invest in one, and then they take a loan to continue to expand that land size. So then you see about a 4-fold increase in their income. And it's not just the cash. You see a noticeable change in their lifespan because you've taken them from a point of earning about 200,000 in a year to well over ₦1 million. So, they get above the point where they start saving, they start spending more on education, they start spending more on welfare, and then they go up the economic ladder. So this is sort of the pattern that we've seen play out at scale. And we have, it continues to propel us to be able to, it fuels our ambition essentially. And that's why, in 5 years' time, our mission, our purpose is to be able to have 1 million non-poor, food secure smallholder farmers that we work with. This system is what drives us at the exchange, and it helps us to, it fuels our ambition to work with 1 million smallholder farmers who are food secure and are not poor.
Thank you very much, Ayo. It's amazing the work you're doing I've seen some of your work in Kaduna, in Niger, Kaduna as well, sorry, not Niger State, but Kaduna. And it's very, very impactful, especially when you see the change in the smallholder farmers' lives. So kudos to what you're doing. In terms of ComX, I'll go back to ComX, because even as of yesterday, I have a lot of people asking me about investing in, the different agricultural schemes and what is the future of commodity trading in Nigeria and Africa, and how secure is it? What's the way forward? What's the future of it?
So I'll take the security question first. So agriculture continues to be a heavy infrastructure asset. So if you are working in agriculture, you have to invest heavily on the extension system. You have to invest heavily in storage to be able to preserve the value of the commodities. You have to invest heavily in a system that can deliver on logistics. Those things cannot be replaced by technology. It can be enhanced and the efficiency can increase, but technology cannot replace the need for someone to go with the farmer, monitor the farming, drive the aggregation, supervise the mechanization, and those things need to happen. So I continue to tend to say we need a lot more tech in agriculture to increase the efficiency, to increase our capacity to take out data, but it doesn't replace the hard work that is needed to grow the sector. So that's a fundamental piece that I always ensure that players that come into the investment landscape essentially do not miss. If you're creating a platform that would link, and you want to invest in a platform that is promising some form of return, as part of your due diligence, look at what infrastructure have these people put on ground, how much, what is the kind of support system that they have, what investment do they have in this physical part of the business that can support the kind of capital they are raising and ensure that they can manage the risk. Because the risk is not in the capital, the risk is actually on the farm. So that's one that I always give potential investors in agriculture. Besides that, agriculture has almost an infinite capacity to grow. Even in an inflationary economy, it's one of the sectors that still will protect you against and matches the dollar investments, because of the kind of return, the impact parity prices, and then the fact that every time that the naira devalues, food prices goes up. So it is a perfect edge against both inflation and the dollar devaluation, the dollar value against the naira. From the future of trading, what we see twofolds. So we see commodity trading and agriculture-backed investing becoming mainstream. I love the alternative asset class, so I still want it to be, because we don't want it to become the big and lose, grow so large that it loses its purpose and its impact. So we want it to still continue to stay within the impact investment realm, but to become mainstream that people can participate. The day my mom can invest in commodities is the day that I know that we are successful in this business. And that's the vision that we have to simplify this, that if you could use a banking app, you must be able to trade on commodities. So that's going to be one of the way that we see as the future. On the other hand, for people that need to buy agricultural commodities as a raw material for processing or for export or for transaction, we see a future where you can buy your commodities into the future. So you can buy future contracts, you can buy next year's harvest of maize and secure your production. That is when we would have achieved success on the market side, the marketing side as a commodities exchange.
And so for people looking for alternate investment that have the 9 to 5 and looking for ways to invest, they can come to ComX and do it safely and sleep at night. Thank you very much. I wish you more success and great job for all you're doing impacting smallholder farmers. And good luck.
Always a pleasure having time with you. Thank you.